In a few minutes, I'll show you how to easily become more consistent with your goals. Most people who struggle with consistency think they're lazy. They think they lack discipline. They think they're not built for success, but that's not true. Here's what I think. Consistency isn't a character trait, it's actually a skill. And like all skills, they can be learned. In fact, you mastered it once as a child, learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to read. You were relentlessly consistent, even without trying. Then you forgot how. And since consistency is a skill you need to accomplish your goals, I'd argue that relearning this skill is one of the most valuable investments of your time that you can make. It's as essential as learning to read and write. Yet most of us don't know how. Here's what we're covering: what consistency actually is and why most definitions miss the point. Why you struggle with it. Spoiler, it's not laziness or lack of willpower. How to stay consistent even when motivation disappears. How to design a system that rewires your brain back to its default state where consistency was automatic, not forced. If that sounds useful, stick around. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about what consistency actually is. Most people think it just means continue working towards a goal, and while that's technically true, that definition is too shallow. It's capping your understanding. Here's how I like to think about it. Consistency is psychic energy directed towards a long-term goal despite conflicts. These conflicts can be internal or external. And 3 key points here with this definition. First, energy. Consistency is a finite resource. You have a limited amount per day. Second, long term. You're directing that energy over time, not in sprints, like a marathon. Third, skill. And this is the important part. Skills can be learned, which means you can learn to be consistent. So, consistency and focus are actually both forms of psychic energy. Think of them as currencies for getting things done. A common problem that people encounter when trying to be consistent is not having enough energy. Now, I'm going to walk you through what I call the 1000 units framework. Suppose you have 1000 units of energy per day for focus and decision making. When you wake up, most people check their phones, right? So you check your phone for messages and that costs 10 units. Then you open Instagram, you scroll for 20 minutes. Each scroll costs 5 units as your brain processes what it's seeing. And then it has to make a decision whether to stay or skip. Then you hit a rage bait video that upsets you, so it costs you 65 units instead of maybe a funny video which would have costed you 20 units of energy. Then you go into that rage bait's video's contents, the comments, and it gets you even more upset. That costs you another 80 units. You're now starting the day with 755 units of energy. Throughout the day, work, meetings, decisions, conflicts, other small stressors that you're constantly spending energy on. By the time you get home, you're running on 15 units of energy. Now, the decision to skip the gym or skip gym practice becomes easier, especially if you're a beginner. Here's my point. Consistency isn't about willpower, it's about energy management. Every small choice either depletes or preserves your capacity to show up as your best self. Now, with that understanding, we can start to design a system that actually works. The first step is protecting your morning energy before the day drains you. Okay, now you have an understanding of energy management. So, how do you actually use this to stay consistent? Here's what I do. I protect my mornings. For me, my mornings are sacred. Growing a YouTube channel requires consistency, right? Writing outlines, editing, researching, all of that demands focus across multiple sessions. And honestly, it's not easy. But you know what would make it even harder, waiting for motivation to strike, or pushing the work to the end of the day when my energy is depleted. So I don't do that. The first thing I do when I wake up is drink water and get to work. Not check my phone, not scroll, work. By allocating my first hours to my goals, I guarantee that I show up consistently. External conflicts and internal resistance don't get a chance to derail me later in the day. And here's why mornings work. In the mornings, you're the most motivated. You've just woken up, your mind is fresh, your eyes are new. The world is quiet, your distractions are still asleep. You have the highest quality of focus energy available to you all day. Take advantage. So, if you're struggling with consistency, experiment with this. Do your most important work first thing in the morning, before your phone, before any dopamine hits. I learned this a few years ago practicing guitar. I'd practice 30 minutes a day before work because if I waited until the evening, something always came up. Overtime, dinner with friends, just life in general. The mornings are non-negotiable. Everything else is. Why does an athlete wake up early to train? It's not because they're more disciplined than you. It's not because they have more willpower. It's because they identify as an athlete. Training isn't something they do, it's who they are. Understand this, all behavior is identity driven. If you identify as someone who lacks discipline, you'll find evidence everywhere. You'll skip workouts, you'll procrastinate, you'll quit projects, and each time you do that, you reinforce that identity. But here's what most people miss. You can change that identity. Not through positive affirmations, not through motivation, but through small, repeated actions. Every time you show up, you're voting for a new identity. Every time you skip, you're voting for the old one. So, the second part of this system is simple. Define who you need to become, not the goal. Start with identity. Don't think I need to work out 5 times a week. Think I am someone who prioritizes their health, or someone who is a gym rat. Don't think I want to write every day. Think I am a writer. That shift is everything. It changes everything. But, and this is critical, if you don't make adjustments to your environment, this will all collapse. We're going to talk about that next. The one thing most people overlook when trying to be consistent is their environment, because your environment shapes who you are. Your willpower can never beat your environment, ever. If you want to eat healthier, you can't rely on willpower at the grocery store. You have to stock your fridge with healthy food and remove the junk. Now, the easy choice is the right choice. The problem with our modern environment is the inverse. The wrong choice is the easy choice. And that's why so many of us are pulled into lives of mediocrity. If you want to focus on deep work, you can't rely on willpower to ignore your phone. You have to put it in another room. Delete the apps. Make distraction physically inconvenient. Here's what you need to do. Reduce friction for good habits. If you want to play the guitar, don't store it in the closet. Leave it on a stand in your living room or in your bedroom. Now it takes 5 seconds to pick it up instead of 2 minutes going to find it. If you want to exercise, pack your gym bag the night before. Fill your water bottle. Make the path of least resistance the path toward your goal. I used to go to work with my gym bag every day, even on rest days. This small environmental change reinforced my identity as someone who prioritizes health. The next thing is to increase the friction for bad habits, so make the bad habits more difficult. If you want to stop scrolling social media, delete the apps from your phone. Make yourself log in through the browser every time. This adds 20 seconds of friction. If you want to stop eating junk food, don't keep it in the house. It's that simple. Make yourself go to the store, stand in line, and consciously choose it. Most of the time, you won't. This is called the 20-second rule, and it's the most underrated tools for consistency. Motivation is temporary, systems are permanent. As James Clear said in his book Atomic Habits, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. You can't rely on feeling like working out. You can't wait until you're inspired to write. You can't depend on motivation to show up, but you can build a system. A system is just a repeatable process, a default, something that happens automatically because you designed it to. Look around. Everything successful operates on systems. Your body's system to keep you alive. Nature's system that sustains the planet. Economic systems that flow value. Your phone's system keep you connected. Systems aren't sexy, but neither is living a life you regret because you didn't achieve the goals you said you would. Another part where people fail is they try to change one thing in this whole system and expect everything to shift. You shift your identity, but you keep your environment the same, and you end up fighting yourself every day. You redesign your environment, but you don't shift your identity, and it feels like you're forcing yourself through an external system. You build a system, but you don't believe in it, then you just quit when motivation fades. All three have to work together. Your identity says, I am consistent. Your environment makes consistency automatic. Your system compounds the results. Now you're not fighting yourself, you're flowing with yourself. The compound effect is another tool that helps you on this journey of becoming more consistent. Small, consistent actions compound exponentially. One workout doesn't change your body, but 100 workouts do. One day of focus doesn't change your career, but 365 days do. One healthy meal doesn't change your health, but 1,000 meals do. Most people quit because they expect immediate results. They want transformation in a week. But consistency is a long game. The person with consistency isn't more talented than you. They're not more disciplined. They just understood the compound effect and played the long game. There is a difference between someone forcing themselves to the gym and an athlete going to the gym. One is suffering. One is just being themselves. That difference is integration. When your identity, environment, and systems are aligned, consistency stops being hard and becomes inevitable. And this is how consistency becomes easy for you. All right, now let's talk about how to actually implement this. These 6 moves are going to rewire your brain for consistency. Shift number 1, identity first, goals second. Most people start by changing their behavior. They set a goal, they try to force themselves to do it. That's backwards. As I said earlier, start with the identity. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to achieve this? Don't focus on what you need to do, focus on who you need to be. If you want to be consistent about fitness, you don't become someone who works out, you become someone who prioritizes their health. If you want to be consistent with writing, you don't become someone who writes every day, you become a writer. Say it, write it, own it. That shift in language, it's subtle, but it changes everything because now your brain sees every action as a vote for that identity. Shift number 2 is to audit your environment. Look around your space right now. What's making bad habits easy and what's making good habits hard? Is your phone on the desk next to you? That's friction against focus. Is your gym bag in the closet? That's friction against exercise. Is your kitchen stocked with processed food? That's friction against health. Spend 10 to 15 minutes doing an audit. Write down 3 things that are working against you, then remove them. That's it. One environmental shift can literally change your entire life. Shift number 3 is to make discipline enjoyable, not painful. Most people think consistency requires suffering. It doesn't. You can make the hard thing enjoyable. It just takes time and effort. The readjustment will happen. If you want to exercise but you hate the gym, listen to your favorite playlist only during workouts. Now your brain starts to associate the gym with something you love. If you want to eat healthier but crave junk food, invest in good recipes. Do your research. Find good ingredients. Make it a presentation. Make healthy food tastes incredible. It can. If you want to write but you find it boring, write about something you're genuinely curious about. Write in a coffee shop. Write with sparkly ink pen. Discipline doesn't require punishment, it just requires design. Be creative. The fourth shift is to track and measure. You can't improve what you don't measure. Track your workouts, track your weight loss, track your muscle gain, track your meals. Compare how you played the guitar last month to this month. Progress gives your brain something visual to celebrate. Once you start tracking, you become more aware, and once you're aware, you can't unsee it. Once you see the pattern, you'll see the progress, and that visibility creates accountability for yourself, and it creates motivation. The fifth shift is play the long game. Stop expecting an overnight transformation. The person who's consistent isn't waiting for a breakthrough moment. They're playing the long game. They understand that 1% improvement daily equals to 37 times improvement yearly. They understand that small actions compound. So they celebrate small wins. They trust the process. They show up even when they don't see results because they know the results are coming. This is the important mind shift that separates people who stay consistent from people who quit. Finally, the sixth shift is to protect your identity. Every single action you take is a vote for who you are. One workout reinforces I am someone who is healthy. One skipped workout reinforces I lack discipline. One day of deep work reinforces I am focused. One day of distraction reinforces I can't concentrate. So protect your identity through intentional design, not willpower. Make it so the easy choice is the choice that reinforces who you want to become. Remember, consistency isn't about forcing yourself, it's about becoming someone who doesn't need to be forced. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one identity shift and one environmental change. Just one. One identity, one environment, one small action. Remember, consistency isn't built in a day. It's built in 1,000 small choices, and those choices start now. So trust the process. If this helped you, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, check out my newsletter, Base Reality. I post longer written content that explores ideas I don't always share on YouTube. Topics that challenge your beliefs, perspectives, and that expand your thinking. If you appreciate exploring new ideas and pushing the limits of your mind, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.